Shut up and sit down.
What's up, guys? This is Takeover Tuesdays. My name is Carlos Redlich. I'm here with my home fry, my man, David Allen. He kicks ass. He does a bunch of cool stuff. Right now, what we're going to be doing is delivering a bunch of kick-ass info on hustling, copywriting, how to make money online, how to travel the world, live the life of your dreams, and really just kick ass overall. And we may even sneak in some cool like sales tricks in there as well. But basically, long story short is I'm a direct response copywriter, and I just help people make a shit ton of money online, offline, direct mail, and a bunch of ways like that. And that's kind of what I'm going to be talking about with you guys. David, why don't you kind of shed some light on what you do? You're like a little mystery man who kicks ass online.
Yeah, I'm a professional magician.
Actually,
a street magician, and I travel the world doing street magic and private gigs when they come up and the people know what I'm worth. And I also do direct response copywriting as well, mostly email at this point. And I've done a few sales letters here and there, and I have a great interest in just the psychology of basically everything, of people, if you will.
Right.
So
how did you get started? How did you get started in magic? Because I know it's funny. Have you ever done pickup? I know a lot of pickup artists, have studied magic just because of the mystery method and a whole bunch of other stuff. So did you ever get into dating pickup and all that? It's a big question.
No, it's a big question, and yes, I have actually delved into that sort of pickup community, if you will, because when I got into magic largely because my father was kind of a practical joker, and so he would constantly play jokes on me throughout my entire life, pulling one over on me constantly. And as I got older, I started really late. I wasn't a child magician or anything. I started when I was about 28, and I was interested because of the psychology of magic. It's really the mind that you're fooling. It's kind of a misnomer that you have quick hands or stuff like that. So the psychology directly led me into sales and marketing type stuff, because I just started to explore psychology as a whole. And I did a bunch of sales, selling over the phone, cold calling, a bunch of sort of jobs like that in my teens and early 20s. And then I found out, actually, what got me into copywriting was I found out that Gary Halbert, the famous A-list copywriter, now deceased, of course, wrote a piece that sold me on a bodybuilding course. And I can still now remember the feeling of waiting for that course to arrive and all sort of the promises of what it contained and all that sort of stuff. I can still feel that, and I was 19 at the time. So I later found out that was Gary. So I thought, wow, that's really powerful, What got you into copywriting and stuff, Carlos? I know you were into the gym business before.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've been doing martial arts for like over 15 years, and when I first got into martial arts, when I first started becoming an instructor in martial arts, I was I think 20 or so years old, and my martial arts instructor was actually a really successful school owner. He was one of those school owners that didn't sell out, but still had a very profitable school. And he did that using direct response copy and also using a lot of, salesmanship in print is the famous, term that's used to describe copywriting. And I mean, it's true. If you can sell face to face, or if you can sell on paper, you should be able to do the reverse just with some minor tweaks. So that's kind of what he taught me. I got turned on to copywriting because, in order to teach in martial arts school, in order to keep the students coming back, you can't just sign them up and teach them a bunch of content. You've got to kind of sell them on the next day, on the next month, on everything. So you got to be able to sell kind of from the floor. So it's similar, or sell from the stage. A lot of speakers will know that. So it's very similar to that. And I mean, just really from doing that and then doing some direct face-to-face stuff, I stumbled into copywriting and figured out, that's really a lot easier than, selling face to face. And really just kind of started selling for myself, doing my own businesses through direct mail, and really just launched it and trial and error and failed and fucked up and just learned from that, and just kept on going. But I mean, my biggest inspirations were Gary Halbert. It was awesome that you mentioned that.
Yeah.
And the John Paul.
Yeah, I think you're cutting out there for a second.
Yep.
You still there? Yeah, you cut out there for a second, Carlos. You said, I believe you were going to say John Carlton, but it cut out.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, that's what I was saying. My biggest influence were those three guys. I mean, Gary Halbert, John Carlton, and Craig Garber, who not many people know of, but he was one of Gary Halbert's students who was really badass, really good.
Yeah,
So
I
I
know
mean, those are
exactly.
my three influences.
I know exactly
Huh?
that. I know exactly that you're talking about Craig Garber. Yeah, that's like he's kind of like a guy who doesn't get mentioned much. I don't know why, because
Yeah.
he's
Well,
great.
you know what? I mean, he's kind of, you know why? It's because he hasn't tried to be the guru, I think, in the copywriting space. He makes more. I mean, I've spoken to him. I've paid him for consultations.
Right.
He's really, he knows his shit, and he's, I think, more focused on building his own business right now than he is on. I mean, I think in order to hire him, you got to pay him 60 grand because it's just not worth it otherwise. So, yeah, I mean, he's one of those that he's not trying to advertise. So I think if he really advertised himself
Right.
as a gun for a hire copywriter, he would probably get a shitload of business just because he knows his stuff and he's going to get you a ton of great results.
Right. We'll have
But
to have
yeah,
we'll
but
have to
no,
get him on the we'll have to get him on the show sometime.
yeah, we will for sure. He used to be a taxi driver actually in New York City, and
Wow.
used to drop people off to go do drugs. It was some crazy shit. I mean,
That sounds like a great story.
really crazy shit. Yeah. And now he lives in Florida. It's
Okay.
crazy. All of us crazy live in Florida. It's funny.
Yeah, all you crazy people live in all you
Yeah.
copyright types.
But yeah, man. So I mean, what are some of the things that you've picked up? Like, let's say, like the top three things that you've picked up in your career and what you've done and experienced that could really help somebody. Let's say just starting their business, because maybe not everybody's got it started. We'll focus on people who've already got a shit ton of money and a shit ton of business, how to make more of it, and maybe another episode. But what do you think are the top three things that you've learned that you could share, that could help people out who are just starting out?
Well, I think for me, in a number of areas, and certainly when it came to becoming a magician that started making money, and as a copywriter that started making money, the number one thing I sort of approached was mentorship. So I found people that were already doing what I was doing, or wanted to do, I should say, and I got them to help me, and I basically did whatever it took. In one case, for instance, I drove 28 hours across country on a whim, to learn about street magic from a sort of mentor, very famous within the magic community, a very famous sort of street magician. So, I mean, I just decided to take action. So I think getting a mentor can really cut the learning curve down. When it came to copywriting, same thing. I have a copywriting mentor that's helped me, tears my stuff apart, does all that kind of stuff you need to get better at something. It's just iteration, doing it over and over again, and having somebody critique you sort of ruthlessly, mercilessly, if you will, so that you can get to it, not taking it personally, putting your ego aside, and just getting to where you want to get as fast as possible. I know you're big on that, Carlos. I've heard you some of your posts on Facebook and stuff talk about how you have aspirations to get as successful as possible, as fast as possible. And so,
Right.
I have the same mindset. I think.
So that's one thing, though. You got two more. You got more tips.
Yeah, so I think once you have a mentor or somebody that's agreed to help you, and usually these two things go hand in hand, you have to take massive action. These things don't get solved by thinking them out. They get solved by doing them. So I say the number one tip is find someone to help you. Number two tip will be take massive action. So when it came to street magic, for instance, you'd go out every day and do show after show after show. Because at the beginning of anything, you're terrible. So you have to
Right.
get through that period. It's like a journey. You have to realize it's a journey and sort of go forward, right? So you just have to plow through those first 1,000 shows where you're god awful, or the first 1,000 emails, sales letters, whatever you want to call, and just get better at it. And then I think
No, that's absolutely true. Well, I think that's a big thing is kind of sticking at it, and the sticking to the actual project is huge. I mean, you didn't get probably great at magic like you said overnight. It took you time to actually do it, right?
absolutely. It's just like any product that you're making. I think. I think I mentioned in a conversation we had previously about iPhones. By the time you're holding an iPhone, it's probably like iPhone 1000, not iPhone 6 or whatever. Because they've made so many, they've figured out most of the little things that are wrong with it, so that when you get it, it's already pretty good.
What's the last? So you had two tips right there that were pretty good. What's the last one?
The last one I'd say is, and I had a problem with this too. I think in both cases when it came to copywriting and it came to magic, is there's no perfect. You have to get it finished and you have to get it out there. And in case of magic, it was like the new tricks and stuff. You have to try them out on real people that have nothing vested in you succeeding. So people are going to give you that real feedback. When it came to copywriting, same thing. You had to have people reject it or fail or not sell anything or whatever, so that you could say, hey, this isn't working. I need to tweak this. And so I'd say that getting it done and testing it.
Right.
It's kind of that whole
That's
process.
a huge thing. A lot of direct response copywriters actually, or marketers, not just copy, but talk about there's never really failure. It's just a test, So you're just fucking up and failing if you're in your mind, but you're really not. You're just testing it a bunch of different ways, and you'll eventually figure out which way works better.
Yeah, exactly. Now, what about you, Carlos? You got 3 tips for us today on that you think are important when people are starting out.
I think being appreciative, showing appreciation, just kind of as more of a principle, I guess, and more instead of just kind of tactics on how to get a client right now. Just whenever you're in front of a client, or whenever you're whenever you're in front of a client or a possible client, show some appreciation. And what I mean by that is appreciate the call, appreciate the time they're taking out to speak with you, and do all that, because not many people will actually do that. There's a lot of people who just go out and are trying to close you, and that's cool. I mean, I'm big on closing, but you've got to appreciate them first. And even when, let's say you get, and this is more of a sales thing, but let's say they say, you know what, your price is too high, and I object. I don't want to do this because your price is too high. I mean, you want to show appreciation even in that sense. Be like, hey, I totally appreciate that. I understand that. You're totally right. But I definitely think that this is the solution for you. You're going to have to pay this one way or another in the today, tomorrow, in the future. Let's get it done now. Let's start making you money, and let's move forward, because we got a lot more stuff in the future we're going to bang out together. Sign here and here, whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you just kind of close them, but you gotta show appreciation. So I mean, the number one thing is show appreciation for pretty much everything. It doesn't matter if you don't like it; you just appreciate that they gave you a response, and sticking to it. So being consistent is another. I think you nailed on that as well. It's really big, because nothing is going to be. I mean, if you're expecting to like make one YouTube video and go viral or whatever, I mean, maybe that works and that's a bunch of cool shit, but I rather bet the farm on doing it like every day and doing it consistently, because one of those are going to hit, So whatever you're doing, be consistent with it. And when I say consistent, it can't be like, like 3 weeks. I mean, everything varies, but if you're trying to launch a business and you don't see results in like a month or 3 months, I think it's crazy,
Yeah. I did that when I started copywriting. I did that. I wrote out sales letters by hand every day for like a year straight.
Yeah, no, that's the way to do it. I used to do the same thing. I mean, there's some people who are against it, and I think that's cool, because not necessarily, because you have to kind of understand what you're trying to do. Like, are you doing like, I want to make a sale, and I want to, and like, you don't necessarily have to write a bunch of sales copy to learn how to be a good copywriter. I don't
Right.
right? But if I think you want to be like a world class, I mean, it just depends on what you want to do. I think if you want to be world class fucking copywriter, you don't necessarily have to just like you have to know all the sales shit. You have to be able to do all that.
Right.
But having all the back knowledge of having rewritten thousands of letters that were great in the past, I mean, I
Yeah.
think that's a huge benefit. Now, I mean, everybody learns differently, so I can't. I mean, I learned because I rewrite the shit by hand, and so I learned it. But
Yeah.
fuck
I
it,
think
repeat it in a way that's gonna make you remember. You shouldn't need swipe files. It should just be in your head.
No, that's true. And I think for me, I think it was kind of like tricking myself into really just reading through all those letters too. Just actually reading them. Like if I had to copy them out by hand, then I had to read it. I was kind of forcing myself to read it. So that I had that knowledge in my head just from having read them.
Yeah, no, I mean that's it. And I think what I like about it is I don't really use swipe files anymore. I mean, I've got thousands of swipes, but
Right.
I don't really use. So when I sit down and write copy, I just sit down and write it because I've researched it enough, so I have enough information in my brain, and then there's no real pause between what's going on in my brain and what's going down on paper. It just happens. And the
Yeah.
reason it never was like that in the past, but the reason I do that is because I've got so much copy that I've rewritten of Halberts, of Carltons, that it's almost like all the swipes are basically in my head already. So
Right.
for me, I did that through rewriting them. And maybe all you have to do is read it. It just depends on how you learn. But I think the ultimate skill is, just kind of develop that ability to have swipes in your brain so you don't just write. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it just pours out. Like that's the same thing with doing magic show. Like there's sort of these, a lot of the magicians and stuff we use these lines and gags and stuff that have been handed in tricks. Have been handed down generation to generation to generation, and you get around enough other performers, and not even magicians, but other just performers. You acquire this knowledge from watching them, and that can help influence your show. In different ways as well. This line you might be able to tweak to fit you better or whatever. So just having as much knowledge as possible, I think, always helps, of course.
Yeah, definitely, man, definitely. Well, what else before we close out, man? What's something else you think is a big takeaway for this episode? It's kind of a short episode. We want to keep them nice and impactful.
Yeah.
What's a good little takeaway for that?
I think the biggest takeaway is you have to take action. This stuff. I think when I was younger, there was a lot of I was very much a planner and an analyzer, and a very analytical, very thinker, if you will. Though some would disagree, I'm sure. And you got to just do it. Doing it will get you there faster than any amount of planning,
right?
And thinking through things. You got to be a little bit reckless, I think, actually.
Yeah, no, that's really good. Somebody actually once told me, instead of just coloring inside the lines, just fucking color all outside the lines. You just fucking do it. Fuck it.
Right.
Yeah. Have a workbook. Just color all outside that shit. And it was a really good little analogy. But I think that's a huge takeaway. You're right. I mean, just taking action. Halbert said it best. Motion beats meditation, and it's absolute truth. I mean, you're gonna learn more through doing and fucking up than you will just sitting there, thinking about what might happen.
No,
so
I agree.
That's a big takeaway. That's a big takeaway. I like it.
I like what Halbert said. I think it was Halbert that said too that, or he got it from somebody else, where it said money is attracted to speed, or some sort of phrase in that.
I don't know that.
Yeah,
I don't know that one, but it sounds good.
Yeah.
I don't know that one.
That is a copywriting axiom from somewhere. That I think it's money is attracted to speed or something like that. So as soon as you get it out there, as soon as you're testing it, as soon as it's done, the more chance you have to make money today, basically.
Yeah.
So get it done.
That's right. That's right. That's absolutely right. That's a great idea. That's not even a great idea. It's a great principle. That's true.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds kick-ass, man. So we're going to be doing this now every Tuesday, right? Or every Tuesday we're putting these out?
We're calling it Takeover Tuesday, and we're going to be recording it every Monday, and be putting them out every Tuesday morning. And, next week we're going to talk about hustling.
There we go.
What are some
talk about some hustling, some grinding? Yeah.
I know you have some great sort of tips on side things you've done and stuff, and I have a few of my own. And that's what we'll talk about next Tuesday.
Yeah, I've got a killer little system on how to flip. I'm actually talking to somebody on how to basically walk into a place, figure out what they need, get it, and basically just risk nothing. And you can make like $10,000 or more. It's pretty simple. So anyway,
That
we'll
sounds
save
great.
that for the next podcast.
There's your
All
cliffhanger
right,
for next
man.
week.
Definitely, man. Well, I'll talk to you later.
Sounds good, Carlos.
All right, ciao.